Hi there, this is Bevan Jones, Head of Science for Education Perfect. Just giving you a quick run through so you can get started using our program. First of all, if you click on Tasks and Homework, there's a button that says Assign Task, and that will allow you to assign your first task to your class. So just go through the step-by-step process. You can choose a class, and you can also assign to specific students. When you click on What, it takes you into the content library, and that allows you to select any of our pre-built lessons. We have over 1,000 pre-built lessons, full coverage of the New Zealand curriculum for junior science in these folders here, and all of our standards there for NCEA level 1, 2 and 3. So we've broken down by subject area, in the junior science area broken down by topic. So if you work your way through the folder structure, you will be able to select a lesson or multiple lessons. You can select one or two. When you select a lesson, you can preview it. You can have a look through the lesson, make sure it's appropriate if you would like to. You can also assign specific sections of the lesson. You don't have to set the whole thing. So you can remove questions or parts of that lesson if you would like to. Once you've got the material that you'd like to assign, it gives you a time estimation at the top for each lesson. I'm going to confirm that selection, and it will take me back to the setup page. So those two lessons will roughly take an hour for students to complete. You can rename it. It'll automatically set it for an 8-day period. You can adjust that if you would like to. So if you want it due by Friday, you can just set the dates. Today now, they'll get an email with a link that they can click on. The live feed, if you put that on, it will notify you when students go off task, which is a really powerful feature for teachers. And there are also some optional settings. And then you just click Assign Task. So once you've set up that task, you'll have some tabs on the left hand side here. You can view the details. You can change aspects of the task if you'd like to. You've got all your student login details here if you need to reset any passwords. You can message students, and you've got a link to Google Classroom there. The live feed, this will show what every student's doing as they're working through that particular lesson, and you'll get a great progress report. I'll show you an example of what that might look like. So you get a breakdown of how many students have finished, started the task. Any students that have difficulty are highlighted for you, and you get a full breakdown of the completion for each student, the time taken and the accuracy, and you've got more details there if you want to about each individual student. You also got a full breakdown of the class, and if there are any sections the class struggled with as a whole, you can view the mistakes and work through any misconceptions with them. Any long answer questions come into feedback, and it's very easy for you to go in and give feedback if you'd like to. On those questions, students do get a model answer. Any keywords are highlighted. We'll be adding in a new feature called peer review very soon as well, so other students can review and critique other students' answers, and you can quickly click through your class, leave feedback if you'd like to, require resubmission, and that will get emailed to the student. So some great analysis. So when you go home, click into Tasks and Homework, you'll see that task that you've set sitting there, as well as any other tasks that you've set for that class. Another very powerful part of our platform is the assessment area. So to set an assessment, very similar, go into the Assessments tab, you'll see some other assessments sitting here that have been done previously. You can click on Set Assessment. In this case, choose Quick Test to get you started. Go through the process again, so select a class or multiple classes. Go into the content library, and in this case, as you work through the folder structure, you might want to set them a pre-test on the questions from all of these lessons here. It'll just take the questions out that are marked by the system. It won't include any long answer questions or any information slides. So I'll include calculation questions, multiple choice, drag and drops, fill in the gaps, those types of questions that the computer can mark. You can preview the questions if you'd like to, have a look through. You can remove questions that you don't want, and tailor it a little bit if you need to. Most teachers don't worry about that stage, they just confirm the selection. So within those 5 lessons there are 90 questions. I might only choose to ask my class 25 of those. They'll get 5 questions from each lesson, and I'd say that's a good minimum amount, at least 5 coming from each lesson. So if you've got 10 lessons selected, you'd probably want around 40 or 50 questions. It'll give you a time estimation. You can use this process just for a quick quiz as well. You might want to rename it, might be a quiz or a pre-test. Set the dates, so you can extend the end date. So you might want to give yourself a few days to do it. Assessment conditions, you can adjust the time frame. A single attempt, the default is that it'll generate a unique assessment for each student. If you want them to get the exact same questions, you can untick that button there. You can give them multiple attempts as well. You can put an access code on it so they can't start it until they get that access code from you. And you can also put them into full screen monitor mode, which prevents them cheating or looking up answers on another website. The results, it's all automatically marked for you, which is great. You can withhold the student results, but a nice thing about it for them is that they can see their results straight away. And a very powerful part of the system is the targeted remediation. So based on this default threshold down here, which is adjustable, if a student scores less than that percentage in the questions from any one of those lessons, it will automatically assign that lesson to them for homework. So to explain that further, if a student gets less than 70% in the questions from this lesson and that lesson, they will get sent those two lessons automatically for homework. Another student might get less than 70% in these three, so we'll assign those three to them, and so on. So each student will get their own revision program created for them, or learning pathway, which is very powerful. Just be aware you can limit the amount of work that they get, so you might give them a maximum of 3 lessons at the end of this assessment. It also gives them a month to do it, so you generally want to reduce that time frame down a little bit. It automatically goes into your homework area, so you can track who's doing those recommended tasks and who isn't. So when you set that assessment, again it will take you to that congratulations page. You can monitor the students as they're doing it, you can lock the assessment, extend time limits, etc. You've got all the details there for the assessment and the student login details. And the analysis will come into this area here. Again, I'll view a sample report to show you what that looks like. This is a pre-test on genetics. As soon as the students submit their tests, it'll give them their mark and it will come up on here for you as the teacher, showing you the average mark and the grade distribution. You'll be able to see how each student performed. You can rank that data. You'll also be able to see how the class performed in the questions from the different lessons. So these are the different lessons here. So this particular class is doing better in terms of their knowledge of alleles as opposed to structure of DNA. And these 6 students here are going to be the ones that are sent that lesson on alleles, whereas 14 students will be sent that lesson on the structure of DNA. You get a full breakdown of every question that was used in the assessment. You can rank those questions. Just focus on the ones the class struggled with as a group, and you can bring those questions up in front of the group and go through them. Really powerful for the students, because straight after they've done the assessment they can click on a link that takes them to this page here. It's also emailed to them. So Holly Booth got 67%, tells her what her strengths are, and then it tells her what her next steps are. So Holly can then click on these links. It's based on an assessment result, and that will take her to the lessons she needs to do to work on her weakest areas. Also straight away they can click on view answers, and that will allow them to go through the test themselves, look at the ones they got wrong. They can bring up a little marking schedule if they want an explanation of the answer, so they can work their way through the test. As I say, you can monitor them. It will give you an idea of if any student loses focus on the task window. If you need to reopen any student's assessments, you can. If you need to lock it down because you've run out of time in that lesson, you can as well, using that lock button. And there's one other very nice feature at the end of all this. I'll just go back into that assessment area. Those assessments are sitting there. That access code is there for the class to get started on that assessment. And when you've done 2 assessments, a pre-test and a post-test for example, you can click on the compare results button. It'll bring up any other assessments you've done with that group. The top one is the most closely matched assessment, which in this case is the post-test. And you can compare the 2 results really nicely just with the click of a button. So the average improvement of the class, how the spread of results has changed, how the grade distribution has changed, how much each student has improved, and also how much the class has improved in the different parts of that topic. So to get the second test, all you need to do is click on the wee copy button up there. That will retain all the initial setup information, and you just need to change the name of it to post-test or something like that. And that will allow you to reset that assessment, gather that extra post-test data, and then compare the results. Hopefully you found that useful. Explore the content library as much as you want. Tasks and homework to set your first task, and if you want to set a quick quiz for your group, go into the assessment area. Hopefully that helps. Good luck, and get in touch if you ever need to using the Message Bevan button. Thank you.